Good morning. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro. It is Monday, the 27th of October, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Following Davao Representative Paulo Duterte's criticism of AFP Chief General Romeo Brawner over the temporary U.S. missile deployment, the military is denouncing the lawmakers' statement as a misleading interpretation. The 47th ASEAN Summit has opened in Kuala Lumpur with President Bongbong Marcos and other regional leaders in attendance. The gathering marks Timor-Leste's official welcome as the bloc's 11th member. After issues with failed flood control projects, non-operational super health center, and alleged corruption in farm-to-market roads, the DPWH low output of new classrooms is now under scrutiny. How badly does this affect the country's education? We will discuss this later with Representative Roman Romulo. Welcome to our program Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. The military is denouncing what they call a misleading interpretation by Davao Representative Paulo Duterte after he criticized AFP Chief General Romeo Brawner over the temporary deployment of U.S. missiles in the country. Here is the report.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines defended its Chief of Staff, General Romeo Brawner Jr., after Congressman Paulo Duterte accused him of boasting about missiles that can reach China. The younger Duterte claimed the remarks were provocative and warned that such a statement could endanger Filipinos if China retaliates. But the AFP clarified that Brawner was merely stating a technical fact about the range of the U.S. Typhoon missile system temporarily deployed in the country for training purposes. The military stressed that the deployment is part of its modernization and capability building program, and that all defense partnerships are conducted in line with the country's independent foreign policy. The AFP also urged public officials to exercise prudence and responsibility to avoid fueling misinformation or distrust towards the military. In a separate statement, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, also slammed Duterte's comment, calling them divisive noise. Tariela added that General Brawner did not boast about the missile's capabilities, but merely highlighted its role in enhancing the Philippines' defense and deterrence, not to threaten any country. He reiterated that the system's deployment underlines the country's commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific region. The controversy comes amid heightened tensions in the West Philippine Sea, where the AFP continues to assert sovereignty while strengthening defense ties with allied nations.
Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson said the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will resume its investigation into alleged irregularities in flood control projects on November 14. The continuation of the probe will take place if he is elected as committee chairman when the Senate reconvenes on November 10. Lacson said a very important witness in Orly Gutesa will be invited to the hearing to help speed up the filing of strong cases against politicians, public works officials, and contractors involved in the controversy. Lacson resigned as Blue Ribbon Chair on October 6, following the disappointment of some senators with the direction of the inquiry. Youth groups staged a creative Halloween-themed protest at the People Power Monument over the weekend to symbolize the country's real horrors, corruption, and abuse of power. Some came dressed as a white lady, demon, and even a caged crocodile. Akbayan representatives Percy Sandanya and Chel Jokno joined the demonstration, expressing support for the youth's call to fight systemic corruption. Meanwhile, senior citizens held their own Seniors Contra Corakot protest walk at the EDSA Shrine and nearby malls. Former Social Welfare Secretary Judy Tagiwalo joined the event, stressing that age should never be a barrier to showing love for the nation and demanding justice for the misuse of public funds. In Bulacan, church leaders, students, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, and civil society groups also joined forces in a united call to imprison corrupt officials.
Para manawagan na magkaroon agad ng pananagutan sa nakita natin mga anomalya sa mga ghosts at iba pang mga project. Buksan ang salin ng lahat ng opisyal Unang-una, mga opisyal na involved o sinasangkot sa flood control issues. At pangalawa, lahat ng mga opisyal mula sa pinakamataas, sa Pangulo hanggang sa iba't ibang mga opisyal natin. Gumalaw na agad ang Solicitor General na para bawiin ang mga perang ninakaw sa pamamagitan ng forfeiture proceedings. Pagdating naman sa mga kasong kriminal ng corruption, ay gawing prioridad ng ating mga korte ang paglilitis ng kasong corruption.
Kasama kami sa seniors kontra kurakot. Online lang kami nag-usap dahil nakita natin sobra na, tama na ang pagwawaldas ng pera natin. Tapos nakita rin namin yung ninanakaw hindi lang pera kundi ang kinabukasan ng bayan at ng kabataan.
In other news, President Bongbong Marcos joined fellow regional leaders in Kuala Lumpur for the opening of the 47th ASEAN Summit, where Timor-Leste was officially welcomed as the bloc's 11th member. Here is the report.
President Bongbong Marcos met with several heads of state in Malaysia for the 47th ASEAN Summit. On the first day of the high-level meetings, the historic inclusion of Timor-Leste as the newest member of ASEAN took center stage. Together with other ASEAN leaders, President Marcos signed the declaration granting full membership to Timor-Leste, marking the culmination of more than a decade of efforts by the young nation to join the regional bloc.
Timor-Leste enters ASEAN with full commitment to its charter, ready to be a constructive, peaceful, and devoted member. We pledge to work with all member states to keep our region peaceful, open, and prosperous, and to be part of efforts to build resilience, deepen unity, and ensure that no one is left behind.
On the sidelines, the president also held a series of bilateral meetings with world leaders. According to Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro, Marcos discussed the ongoing issues between Cambodia and Thailand with Cambodian Prime Minister and extended condolences to Thailand over the passing of Queen Sirikit. In his meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Joseph Carney, President Marcos expressed appreciation for Canada's continued support of the Philippines' position on international law and shared democratic values.
Nagkaroon din po, na-highlight po ang strong people-to-people exchanges at nagpasalamat din po ang Pangulo sa Canada dahil sa pagsuporta sa Pilipinas patungkol po sa shared values at including po the international law, particularly UNCLOS.
A new agreement was also signed on the first day of the summit, the second protocol to amend the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
Don't go away. We will be back with more stories after the break. Good morning, I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Malacanang is vowing accountability after reports that the Public Works Department built only 22 classrooms this year. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said President Marcos has ordered a catch-up plan to address the 146,000 classroom shortage and directed DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon to investigate. Castro stressed that those responsible will be held accountable. The controversy comes as the DPWH faces corruption allegations involving flood control projects, which according to Education Secretary Sonny Angara, caused the neglect of classroom construction. Joining us is Pasig City Representative Roman Romulo, Chairperson of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture. Good morning, Kong. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, good morning, Angela, and those watching and listening, good morning to all of us.
Yes, so your initial reaction, 22 classroom lang daw yung nagawa this year.
Yes, And I think that is correct, that the President instructed the DPWH and the Department of Education to investigate. Kasi kung titingnan natin, if we look at the budget for this year, para sa classroom building, I think that should really, medyo nasa 28 billion yun, and initially may na-release na. So the question really is, bakit hindi nagawa? And again, it is not as simple as saying that maybe because napunta lahat sa flood control yung attention, because where are the most congested classrooms? NCR and Region 4A, Calabarzon.
Right.
In NCR, to which my district belongs to, I think DepEd should also internally ask itself, bakit hindi nag-build ng classrooms dito? First, I think they should review what they define as congested. Because sa nangyari rin dito, sa Metro Manila, ang ginawa ng iba ay nag-double shifting sila, nag-triple shifting sila. And I want to know, did they consider that already? Is that automatically considered congested or not? Pagkaalam ko, there was a time that was not automatic. But that is also wrong kasi hindi tama ang magkaroon ng double shift and triple shift. Ang dapat nating standard is one shift per school. Pero dito sa atin, sa NCR, may double shift, may triple shift.
Yes.
May natatapos ng 7:30. So, I think they should ask their SDOs, their principals, did they consider this as congested or not? Kasi pag hinati nga naman nila, less than 50 yung classroom. Di ba? Ang teacher-student ratio. But then that's also wrong. So again, they should also ask, I think, they should review their policy on this. Kasi ang nangyari ay baka hindi nila consider congested dahil nag-double, triple shift siya, which is wrong. Second, ang sabi nga ang congested is NCR and Calabarzon. If you take a look, NCR lang. NCR has dito po, medyo mataas yung mga SEF ng ating mga cities, di ba? Because an SEF is based on the real property taxes, di ba? So, ang tanong, may pondo ang lokal, bakit hindi
Pero
nagtayo?
hindi nagagamit.
O ba hindi rin sila nagtayo? Di ba? It was not, it cannot be said that solely na national lang ang magbibuild. Kasi may SEF eh. Ang Calabarzon, hindi, again, DepEd should take a look. Kung sino saan doon ang may kulang na classrooms, baka naman yun yung issue really is utilization also by the local government units. It's not necessarily all on the shoulders of the national government, di ba? Kasi yun ang in-identify. NCR and Calabarzon are the two most congested classroom places, di ba? But then, mayayaman yung syudad doon eh. So meron silang SEF. May education fund sila which they could have used. So, bakit hindi nagamit? So, I think, again, the easy solution really is build classrooms. Tama yon. But then the question is, why were they not built? Tama si Presidente doon, as DPWH and DepEd, to take a look, but hindi. And identify the cities na kailangan sana, pero ba't hindi nag-build?
Bakit hindi nag-build?
Kasi may SCF naman sila. They could have, is it a question of buildable space? Kasi baka punong-puno na rin talaga sa Metro Manila, or masyadong mahal yung mga lupa na hindi naman ang may-ari, gobyerno. So there are various reasons, and I think moving forward, DPWH and DepEd should take a look at the various reasons. Hindi, kasi tama yun eh. Classroom talaga that's a simple solution, but why was it not built?
Right.
Secondly, we should also take a look at the fact na hindi naman dapat, we should also be, ano sabi ng EDCOM 2 and PIDS? Ang pinaka-congested yung elementary. That is grades 1 to 6. Right now, meron tayong voucher system sa junior high school, 7 to 10. Meron din tayong voucher system sa 11 and 12. Pero wala tayong voucher system sa 1 to 6, which is the most populated, yun yung congested. Ano ba yung voucher system? Yung voucher system is government gives financial, yung IGASPE, bibigyan ng financial assistance yung mga nag-aaral sa DepEd schools na congested na para makalipat sa private school na
Pero
malapit
Kong,
lang.
may issue din dyan. Pero another
Yes.
issue yan, yung mga ghost students daw.
But we have a new law which Congress, the House of Representatives has passed on third and final reading. Pati yun, in-address na po namin ang issue. Bakit po? Bakit nagka-allegedly ghost students sa 11 and 12? Because the policy then, dahil di ba we introduced K-12. Nung na-introduce yung K-12, napansin ng DepEd going to 2016, hindi sapat yung number of classrooms. So ang sinabi ng DepEd noong 2014 or 2015, they issued a department order saying that kung private school ka, magtayo ka ng 11 and 12, bibigyan ka namin ng voucher. I think that was a recipe for disaster, di ba?
And I think nangyari pa yun, mas namayagpag during the pandemic. No? Pero kung, eto muna, pag-usapan muna natin yung mga classrooms. No? Kanina nabanggit mo nga yung congested na mga classrooms. And I did a report a few weeks ago doon sa may Sangangdaan, sa may Antipolo Rizal, na tumatawid pa sila sa ilog para makarating doon sa kanilang school na 4 o'clock in the morning because first shift sila. 5 o'clock, dapat start na yung klase nila. So dito lang napapakita yung sinasabi mo na 3 shifts na doon yung mga estudyante. Now, the question here regarding the classroom, is it a question of lack of funds or misuse of funds or prioritization?
Again, exactly. No? Sa tingin ko for 2025 and previous years, meron naman talagang budget. May kita naman yun sa GAA. So I think that is why tama yung instruction ni Presidente sa DPWH and sa DepEd, find out what is the reason, bakit hindi nga tayo nakabuild. Kasi ang pinaka-congested are NCR and Region 4A. Pag pinag-usapan mo ang NCR, obviously dito, may SCF, yung mga local government units natin, may kakayanan sila to locally build. So ang question is, ba't hindi nakabuild? Was it because wala nang buildable space? Kasi puno na rin ng Metro Manila ng commercial, school buildings, iba-iba. So that's the first question. Second, ilan pa ba yung government property within Metro Manila o Calabarzon na kailangan ba i-purchase ng gobyerno mo na yon? Kasi yun ang rule, you have government must own that. So it's really identifying, first of all, kasi identified naman NCR and Calabarzon ang pinaka-congested. So ano yung rason? Mayaman ng syudad, may local funds naman, bakit hindi nakabuild? So it must be either buildable space or maybe it's really the how they considered which schools are congested or not. Kasi
prioritization,
sa akin, automatic, pag more than one shift ka, congested ka na.
Exactly.
Kasi yung standard is one shift lang. Pag nag-double shift ka, hindi pwede na, nag-double shift po kami, kaya per class namin, yung ratio, pasok na sa 1 is to less than 50. So again, all of those things should be reviewed. Ang sinabi mo, Angela, yung sa Rizal, that is another, we also passed on third and final reading in the House last month, yung last mile schools. Kasi meron talaga mga lugar sa Pilipinas na medyo remote yung lugar. So you have to build a school and we call that the last mile schools. Alam mo, dati meron na yung mga program. Pero under this new proposal we have, hindi pwedeng one size fits all. Kasi hindi naman pwede na bibuild ka na ng parang standard ng classroom sa lahat ng lugar.
Exactly.
Kasi last mile school, ang problema dyan, hindi lang yung classroom. Problema rin dyan yung teacher availability. Problema rin dyan, maaari yung roads leading to that place. So hindi ba pwedeng one size fits all na kung ano lang yung gagawin mo sa isang lugar, gano'n rin dapat nang gawin sa mga tinatawag na last mile schools. But in the House of Representatives, we also passed it on third and final reading, giving the Department of Education flexibility to be able to fund yung mga nasabi mong last mile schools na magkocross ka pa ng river bago makapunta doon. Kasi ang tagal ng problema yan, dapat ma-address yan. And I think,
parang bata pa lang ako, hindi pinag-uusapan.
And the issue really there is, one size does not fit all, and that is exactly what the last mile schools
Kung
does.
sinabi kasi ni Secretary Angara, he's looking at, giving the sole responsibility to DepEd at saka LGU instead of DPWH in terms of building classrooms. What do you have to say to that?
Again, I think Secretary Angara would be in a better position than I am kasi kitang-kita naman yung problema. But again, just as a reminder, during the time of the Aquino administration, 2011 or 2012, they did that. They transferred it from the DPWH to the Department of Education. Pero at that point in time, hindi rin makakonstruct. Kasi ang Department of Education is a department focused on academics. Hindi po siya engineering. It has an engineering unit. Pero hindi naman yun yung thrust niya talaga. Secondly, pagdating ng the problem really for me is probably the procurement, the bidding. And
Partnering with private partners, is that okay also?
Actually sa amin.
That's what Brother Luistro did before.
Oh yes, they did that. And I think DepEd should also learn from that. That episode. Kung maalala ninyo, ginawa po yun before Ang nangyari po doon, yun yung mga container vans. Di ba yung container vans, yun ang ginawa nilang classrooms sa mga going towards the north and going towards the south. Pero di ba, even at that point, at that time, sinasabi nga ng marami, ang init eh. Kasi nga container van, ilagay mo sa Central Luzon. So,
Kawawa na may mga estudyante.
kawawa,
no?
that's why natigil yon. Secondly, it's very difficult to compare, kasi nakita ko rin, Angela, may nagko-compare na, una-una, tingin ko rin mahal yung classrooms ng estimate ng government. Pero to compare it to what is being done by private now is probably apples and oranges. Bakit? Nakita ko merong isang furniture na pinakita nila sa isang probinsya, gumawa ang private ng one story. Pag one story, syempre walang foundation 'yon. Yung foundation nun hindi ganun katatag ang kailangan. So syempre that is why it's apples and oranges for me. Kailangan talaga ipaghambing, but in Congress now we filed a bill giving the president emergency powers with respect to a building of classrooms. Kasi ang problema talaga is the price, the bidding, procurement niyan eh. So dito sinasabi namin sa bagong panukalang batas namin is that we should allow, there's an emergency situation. Ang shortage is, it varies ano. Sabi ng iba 148,000, sabi ng iba 165,000 classrooms. Sabi rin, I read somewhere, sabi ng DepEd, it will take them how many decades?
2028,
How many
at
decades
least.
to fill that up, di ba? And you have to add na yung mga nakatayo ng buildings ngayon, kailangan ng marami in disrepair na. So kailangan mo pang i-repair rin yun, di ba? So we filed actually 2 bills on that. Yung isa is really with respect to allowing the president to be able to negotiate contracts even with private. Kunyari yung mga traditionally hindi sumasama sa government bidding pero magagaling. Di ba daming buildings dito na ginagawa ng mga malalaking private construction companies na hindi naman sila nagbibid. Maybe we should allow the president under emergency situation to be able to, for at least for the next 1 or 1.5 or 2 years, to be able to negotiate classroom buildings with yung very reputable private construction companies para mapabilis natin yung pag-construct.
Kasi grabe, by 2028 daw, baka daw maging 200,000 na yung classrooms na
but it's a
backlog
question
natin.
of giving the president, for me, emergency powers. Kasi it's really a question of procurement. Bidding na naman yan. Kahit national yan o local lang gumawa, pero hindi under emergency powers, you will still have to go through the bidding procedure, which takes such a long time. Yun talaga yung isang problema, yung kahabaan rin ng time doon.
Kung I know you're very passionate about education, ito nga yung committee mo. One last question regarding it before we move forward to another issue because we don't have much time. Bakit po sa tingin niyo medyo contradicting yung statement ng DPWH versus DepEd doon sa mga naipapatay yung mga classroom? Sa DPWH parang sinabi nila 23,000 na daw as of 2018, pero sa DepEd parang 21 classrooms pa lang yung napapatay or 11 if I'm not mistaken. Bakit may mga ganong mga statements?
Well, that I'm not too sure of. Dapat talaga mag-usap lang ang DepEd and DPWH. They both belong anyway to the executive department. Para yung numbers nila, yung data nila, ma-match lang nila. And sometimes it's a matter na magkapaliwanagan lang siguro kung ano yung considered na classroom building. I think yun lang ang kailangan gawin. At I think with the new leadership of DPWH and the new leadership of DepEd, kita mo naman, very flexible naman yung mga secretary doon. I mean, I'm sure they can talk to each other, get their teams together to be able to reconcile.
Right. Okay. So I cannot not ask you this about the Diskaya, of course. Ito po ay sinabi nila na kayo daw po ay sangkot dito sa mga maanumalyang flood control projects. Kayo po ang nag-iisang congressman sa Pasig. Natural po, lahat po ng mga maanumalya doon ay sa inyo po pwedeng ma-link, diba? So why do you think that is? Bakit po nila kayo sinasabihin? Have you met the Diskaya before? Have you dealt with them?
Unang-una, syempre taga-Pasig rin sila. Makikita-kita kami sa mga activities, kunyari may binyagan or any church event, or magkakaroon talaga ng ganun. Pero alam rin ng lahat, lalo na sa lungsod ng Pasig, nakalaban namin sila sa politika noong 2025 at alam rin natin sa 2028, most probably sila na naman yung aming kalaban. Unang-una sa lungsod ng Pasig, sa totoo, wala namang kaming ghost project. Pagdating sa standard o substandard, I think the DPWH should take a look kasi sa
pero
tingin
bakit
namin
kanila
nagawa.
pinangalanan?
Politika nga eh. Di ba kasi magkakalaban kami sa politika. So I think, but again, the basic is there. Sa amin, maliwanag naman, wala namang ghost project. At least wala akong alam na ghost project. Pangalawa, yung standard o substandard, I think that DPW should be the ones to be able to make that decision.
Right. Okay, doon po sa kanilang statement, linking your name doon sa mga anomalous flood control projects, sinabi nila, there's a certain Aristotle Ramos, district engineer, saying
District
na
engineer
bagman
po
mo
yun.
daw po niya, bagman daw nyo siya.
Again, yun yung statement nila. Yes. But again,
But do you know him?
siyang DE po ng siya pa ang DE ng, hindi lang ng Pasig siya yung DE po ng, I think, 4 or 5 cities within the eastern sector of, syempre, kunyari, magba-budget hearing, magtatanong kayo kung ano yung, tatanungin kanila kung ano yung tingin mo kailangan na construction na gawin sa syudad mo. At yun, base naman yun sa mga recommendation ng HOA namin, recommendation ng barangay namin. So, again, that is what a question to ask because at the end of the day, paano kami magko-coordinate kung hindi kami magkakaano And I hope, that question is clearly, I mean, how can you not coordinate with your DE? I mean, I hope it's not it's obviously, kailangan mag-coordinate di ba? I mean,
Then there's another name that they're asking you, Angelica or Angelita Garucha.
Yes.
So,
Again
ito
po,
naman
siya
daw sa DPWH.
DPWH siya. Siya rin po yung, sa totoo po, kunyari may pumunta sa office na HOA or kaya barangay or kaya sektor na nagre-request. So, tatawag ang DPWH para kung meron silang coordinator, liaison officer na siya ang titingin kung ano yung, kasi hindi naman ako engineer. So, kunyari ang request kalsada o kaya sa school, ang request sa school building, tatawagan mo DB para silang pupunta doon, magre-report sila back to you saying na, yes, kailangan doon ng building, o kompleto naman, yun talaga yun. So, again,
so solely yung transaction mo with them is based on the process.
Angela, I'm surprised at that question because it's obvious naman. I mean, will you not coordinate with the department involved? I mean, end of the day, di ba sila yung expert? Pareho rin po yan sa DepEd. Pag may school building, magkoconsult ka sa principal, magkoconsult ka sa SDO, magkoconsult ka din sa DepEd. So, I think that is the regular procedure there.
What about your SALN? A month ago, I think you mentioned that willing po kayo mag-release na inyong SALN.
Yes.
House Speaker Diaz already released his. Kamusta po
House
yun sa
Speaker
inyo?
Boji D?
Opo.
Sa totoo po, narinig ko, ready naman ako kasi sinasubmit ko naman yung taon-taon and I think that's the right thing to do. I'm just, narinig ko lang, sinabi lang ni Speaker na kailangan ng, may guidelines silang ilalabas. So, just for me to give courtesy to the House leadership, I'm just waiting for that.
Alright. Sige. Nako, we have so much questions pa. Gusto pa natin mahimayan but unfortunately we don't have much time. But hopefully, we can still invite you over. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Pasig City Representative Roman Romulo, Chairperson of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture. Maraming salamat po. Now stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after a short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. A new report by Sigla Research Center warns that influence operations continue to shape the 2025 midterm elections. The study found that rival elites, the Marcoses and the Dutertes, turned their online machines against each other after the 2022 alliance collapsed. The report also notes the rise of third-wave voters, the spread of partisan news across social media, and the emerging use of generative AI in campaign strategies. Despite more active regulations, researchers say policies remain ineffective in curbing political influence operations. And to further discuss their report, we are joined by Ferdinand Sanchez II, researcher and head of public engagement at the Sigla Research Center. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining me on Morning Matters.
Hello, good morning po to everyone.
Good morning. Can you tell us briefly what this new Sigla research report is about and what motivated you to do this study?
Yes, so the report examines yung evolution of influence operations in the 2025 midterm elections. So the broader term influence operations includes disinformation, fake news na kasama sa political communication strategies, hacking our attention, mobilizing people, and influencing electoral results. So dito, hinighlight namin yung three dimensions, yung personalities, platforms, and practices. We look at yung breakdown ng Marcos Duterte Alliance, as you said, and pati na rin yung pag-document ng social media pages locally and also nationally. Pero partisan yung content nila, yung paggamit ng AI tools sa campaign materials. So although nakita natin na ganito siya, no, hindi lang part ito ng matagal ng ginagawa ng research center.
Okay, so one of the major findings po dito sa inyong research, I was reading about it, yung unit team alliance between the Marcos and Duterte camps, yung pag-collapse po noon, ano? So, paano, how did you do this research? How did this research shape the behavior of the entirety of the study?
Yes, so yung research namin, may methodology kami of looking at around 193 Facebook pages, so from senators to local candidates. At the same time, we interviewed around 100 respondents in Lawag City, Cebu City, and Cotabato. And meron din kaming interview with volunteers of NAMFRAL. Ano ba yung mga issues or narratives na nakikita nila or nakikita nila before and during the election? So yung main idea dito ay kung before nung 2022 parang nasa isang unit team, 'di ba, yung
Yes.
political blocks natin. Dito naman nagkaroon ng internal na parang targeting against each other. So against Marcos and also against Duterte, and we detailed for example narratives ng drug use accusations, imported justice, false victimhood na all contextualized within yung timely issues tulad ng ICC warrant arrest, yung internal political infighting nila. So in a way, naging mas divided yung influencer networks, yung disinformation that we see online. So ang nangyayari either Duterte ally ka or Marcos supporter ka. But even with that split naman, I also want to mention na meron pa rin yung influence operations against liberal and progressive figures. So nakikita pa rin natin yung red tagging at the same time yung pag-discredit sa mga opposition politicians.
But you also mentioned dun sa inyong study yung imperfect alliances, ano, at saka yung sinasabi nga growing space for third way electorates. Kasi ngayon, before, alam natin may mga opposition and administration, pero ngayon parang nagkakaroon na ng sino ba yung totoong opposition, sino ba yung totoong kaalyansa, maraming parang mga collaboration on the side. So what does this mean for the future of Philippine politics? Mas magulo ba or mas makikita na natin ngayon binary?
Definitely hindi na natin nakikita na binary siya. Pero yung kung magulo, mahirap i-qualify kung paano siya magiging magulo. Pero we are seeing that there's in a way merong third wave of third wave politics na bukod doon sa existing political blocks. People are looking at different modes of politics, and hindi lang siya yung mga perfect coalitions, pero signal siya na kailangan na mag-move beyond yung politicking. So nakikita natin even with the results na mas nag-orient yung citizens sa mga welfare or policy-centered na mga issues. So nakita natin how issues of yung kabuhayan, yung serbisyo at pamamahala, or yung peace and order or health, yung mga naging tampok para sa mga electorates natin. So this suggests a bit of a gradual shift toward issue-based politics na more than personality-driven rivalries and towards to actually addressing yung needs ng mga tao rather than yung politicking and yung malalaking narratives na nag-aaway at yung parang malalaking concepts na kailangan ng mga tao ng concrete programs and welfare policies for them to actually vote.
It also noted po doon sa inyong report yung diversification of partisan news outlets. So how do these local or regional platforms influence voter perception compared to traditional or mainstream media?
Actually, medyo naging matagal na tong development, especially nung 2016, yung pag-brandize sa traditional and legacy media as biased and part ng oligarchy.
Oo.
But we are seeing now kasi, in this study, nag-try kami ng hyper-local approach. We really went to cities to actually see ano na ba yung information ecosystem nila. So actually, rather than seeing how these platforms shape yung perceptions, we think yung more important question ay um, how they edge yung ganitong mga community pages, at the same time yung mga nakikita nating alternative pages, how they edge out formal or traditional sources of information. So yung communities now increasingly rely on informal and non-journalistic sources for news and interpretation. So yung tanong kapag ganito, sila ba dapat yung sisihin sa boto nila or dapat
Oo,
din
oo.
kilatisin yung compromised information ecosystem natin ngayon. So these platforms kasi thrive because of deeper democratic ills. So for example, yung political dynasties, localized violence, and polarization na naglilimit doon sa access nila to credible information and at the same time weaken media institutions. So perhaps the challenge would be is reimagining what political education looks like in this kind of media landscape. At the same time, addressing bakit din ba bumababa yung kanilang trust towards traditional and mainstream media, and see ano ba yung nile-leverage ng mga local and regional platforms na to na hindi nagagawa ng mga traditional and national media that we have.
Actually, it's a good point, kasi talagang until now, yan pa rin ang most common question kung sino ba dapat sisihin doon sa mga nagiging turnout ng mga binoboto natin. But sometimes doon nga din pumapasok yung kahalagahan ng voters' education at the same time, diba? But moving on, nakita rin natin doon sa inyong study yung paggamit ng generative AI. No, sa mga political campaigning, 'di ba? Nakita natin yung lumawak siya especially during the last election. So, can you share some examples of how AI was used and ano ba, effective ba to or harmful ba to dun sa mga tactics na ginawa nila?
Yeah, so yung AI during election was used in so many ways. So meron ka ng very local to, yung meron ng campaign jingles na gumagamit ng AI, so para sa text to speech, meron kang posters, captions, and even full video. So the most viral example actually would be before the elections, nung nagkaroon ng AI-generated na pulveron video used to discredit the Marcos claim. So we also have reports ng banned accounts sa ChatGPT na pro-Marcos content naman yung piniproduce. And we also see na meron ding red tagging deepfakes targeting progressive candidates like kabataan party list. So, una, mahirap sukatin yung exact quantitative impact. Pero malinaw na these AI-generated visuals amplify yung existing narratives that we already have. So, mas madali na ngayon gumawa ng content kaysa sa una, napakabilis when you try AI. Second, hindi mo na kailangan gumawa ng mga ebidensya or mag-twist ng mga fact. You just fabricate it. And lastly, sobrang visual and believable ng mga materials. So, while nakikita natin na sobrang creative on the outside, yung tactics nito actually blur accountability and actually normalize deception in political communication. So, while nakikita natin na very visual, effective siya, nakikita rin natin yung harms na nadudulot niya.
Right. So, yun nga, may usapin dito ng ethical di ba? Anong mga ethical standards or ethical frameworks na ano yung mga dapat natin gawin to prevent na ma-weaponize, di ba, in the future elections itong mga paggamit ng AI. I remember during the campaign season, ang COMELEC, no, ang Commission on Elections, parang meron silang parang vow, no, na parang aayusin nila or they will parang pagmamatsagan nila yung paggamit ng AI sa during the campaign. But what other safeguards or ethical frameworks should we establish para nga hindi maiwasan natin na magamit ito sa masamang paraan?
Yes, I think that's a very important question now. Actually, in our report, may kita nyo na in different sectors. So we have 3 key recommendations. One would be yung self-regulation of disinformation for hire, and also another one about AI use. So kada sector, we also tried na merong recommendation kami from government, civil society, media, and even yung social media platform. So in broad strokes, we need to shift the conversation around AI and elections toward accountability and transparency. So hindi lang siya tungkol sa regulation, kundi shared responsibility ng government, media platforms, and civil society. So for example, for government, kailangan ng AI literacy program sa schools, communities, and ng independent oversight para siguraduhin na transparent yung paggamit ng AI sa campaigns nila. For media, dapat clear yung labeling and dapat may disclosure kung AI-generated
AI
ba yung
ba to?
materials
Oo,
sila.
oo, oo.
Exactly. At mag-integrate din, perhaps, kapag 2028 na, no, AI literacy sa election coverage nila. Diba? So, magandang ma-integrate yon. And for example, sa platforms, kailangan na merong flagging systems at mechanisms para malaman kung third-party AI tools yung ginagamit nila. And for civil society, important na merong multi-stakeholder regulation because kailangan active din ang civil society sa pag-approach dito. And whole of society yung approach natin to resist yung very deceptive campaign practices ng paggamit ng AI. So in whole, no, yung goal natin is hindi lang entirely to regulate, pero mas gawing responsible and socially just yung paggamit ng AI para may accountability and transparency tayo every time na meron tayong elections.
Yung kaninang nabanggit ko po, sir, regarding Commission on Elections, yung kanilang inintroduce na new rules sa pag-monitor ng online campaigning, including pag-disclosure ng AI, na paggamit ng AI. Doon po sa inyong research, ito po bang ginawa ng Commission on Elections ay enough na yung kanilang regulations or may kulang pa? And if so, ano pa po yung nakikita nyo dapat ma-introduce pa?
Yeah, so we welcome, very much welcome yung COMELEC's new rules na especially yung registration of offline campaign pages, yung pag-required ng disclosure of AI use. Pero gaya nung nakita natin sa research at yung usapan din with other election monitors, kulang pa rin talaga sa enforcement. Human power, at the same time resources para talaga maisagawa ng maayos yung ganitong klase ng regulation. Right now, yung most responses actually still rely doon sa takedowns and moderation. Pero walang malinaw na mechanisms na pinuput out yung commission for accountability and punishment sa illicit ties ng candidates and influence operators. So kasama na dyan yung mga influencers. And nakikita natin globally, bumababa yung funding for counter disinformation program. Kaya mas mahirap yung ganitong regulation. So ibig sabihin, kailangan talaga ng mas detailed na regulation and guidelines na magmula sa COMELEC, especially on transparency and accountability. So for example, yung nakita nga natin, diba, nagkaroon ng social media registration required to according to their memo to the politicians. Nakita natin na hindi ito actually na-enforce. Maraming nanalo and even until now, nalok-lok naman sila na hindi naman nag-register at all. At the same time, even if na mag-register sila, yung mga fake news disinformation ay nanggagaling din sa mga third-party pages and Facebook pages na mahirap talaga. So, we really need more accountability and more transparency na dapat yung mga politicians nagsasubmit ng kanilang mga ties doon sa ganitong mga networks. And kapag nakikita natin sila na interview sila sa mga influencer, ano yung kanilang mga negotiations or even yung kanilang mga conversations, kapag may mga ganun silang arrangement, kailangan na mas ma-disclose yun. And perhaps yun yung mag-i-increase din ng trust ng mga tao, nakikita nila ano yung nangyayari at the same time, may accountability measures na meron yung government and nag-hold accountable natin yung mga tumatakbo at yung mga maluluklok sa ating pamahalaan.
Now, sir, how can the public access the full report and how can they engage with Sigla Research Center or participate in your future studies?
Yes, so the full report is available at siglaresearch.org. So you can also find updates through the Sigla Research Facebook page. So we also invite everyone to join our ongoing campaign called Common Ground. So nag-hold kami ng campus dialogue on disinformation, AI, and democracy. So yung goal talaga namin ay hindi lang maglabas ng research but magbukas ng space for collaboration and reflection. And finally, we're also releasing a special report on AI and elections and a broader study on AI use in the Philippines. So follow our social, Sigla Research Center on Facebook, Instagram then. Hopefully you read and share our reports and watch out for our upcoming studies and events. So thank you so much.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa iyong oras, Ferdinand Sanchez, the second researcher and head of public engagement at the Sigla Research Center.
Thank you.
Now don't go away, more matters to discuss after the break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Taal and Canlaon volcanoes acted up over the weekend. Taal emitted steam and ash early Sunday morning, marking a series of minor phreatomatic eruptions. According to PHIVOX, the first explosion occurred at 8:13 in the morning, followed by another at 8:20 a.m., both caused by the interaction of magma and groundwater inside the volcano. Meanwhile, Canlaon volcano in Negros Island also released ash 3 times Saturday morning following an earlier eruption on Friday. PHIVOX said Taal will remain under Alert Level 1 and Canlaon under Alert Level 2. Carlos Yulo delivered a strong finish at the 2025 World Artistic Gymnastics Championship in Jakarta, Indonesia, capturing gold in the men's vault finals. The Paris Olympics double gold medalist averaged 14.866 points after posting 15.200 on his first vault and 14.533 on his second. The victory added to his earlier bronze in the floor exercise. Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Patrick Gregorio praised Yulo's feat, calling him a national treasure who continues to bring pride to the country. Here are the latest in the UAAP men's basketball tournament. UP continues in a strong second round run, dominating FEU 89-75 to claim solo second place. Nigerian center Francis Ninoruka led the Fighting Maroons with 19 points and 10 rebounds. Meanwhile, NU bounced back strongly with a 66-50 win over Ateneo, staying on top of the standings. Jake Figueroa posted a double-double of 17 points and 15 rebounds. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro. Kapatid, we're One News, all sides, all the time.